Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I wrote this book called Reviving Masculinity. You can get that at Walmart. You can get it at Amazon. You can just Google Reviving Masculinity. It's one of the first things that will come up. You can go to my website, travisneville.com, and pick up a copy. I would appreciate it if you did that. That's how I make money doing this. That's how I continue to provide this content for you. If you're enjoying it, please pick up a copy of the book. If you have already, recommend it to someone else. I get this comment a lot. Hey, does it bother you when someone buys your book and then they tell you all about how they gave it to a bunch of other people? Like they just took their copy and gave it away a few times. No, not really. I mean, yeah, I'm missing a few bucks there, but mostly I'm just glad that the content's good enough where people want to read it. I'm at the post office a lot, as you'd imagine, shipping out books. People order autographed copies from my website, and then I'll ship. I gotta ship them out. I gotta sign them and then ship them out. T-shirts, stickers, stuff like that. And the ladies at the post office, they now know me very well, and that's what I'll get from them. Hey, I've passed that book along to like half a dozen people. I just see it as a compliment. I mean, part of me is like, hey, you know, I just lost 45 bucks or something, but whatever. I'm not doing this to get rich. I'm doing it to help people. That's the deal. So anyway, I want to talk today about strength. Strength. It's a big, broad concept, and I think it gets like a bad rap. I think that if you are a really strong man, then you're seen as a threat. You're seen as something that's negative. You're seen as something that is counter to civilization. You're seen as something that is not congruent with society. And I couldn't fucking disagree more. If you are of that mind, if you think that a physically strong, mentally strong, able, and willing man is not attractive, appropriate, necessary, then you're probably not listening to this shit. And if you are, I encourage you to change your mind. And that's my very diplomatic way of saying fuck you. That's the deal. So strength, what is it? Well, it can mean a lot of things. I would tell you from like a dictionary type definition, what is strength? I look at the work that I do. I work in construction. And an 8-foot 2x4 on edge, it's well known, it can hold like 300 pounds, which is pretty impressive. I mean, it's going to bounce like crazy, but it'll hold it, and that's only, I mean, a 2x4 isn't 2x4 anymore. It's only an inch and a half by 3.5 inches. So an inch and a half of wood that's 3.5 inches deep, spread out over an 8-foot span, can hold a big fat guy. Um, it's pretty impressive. I mean, 2x4s are strong as shit. Now imagine what they can do on end. I mean, like I'm building my house, at least the garage section the walls will be 2x4s. I'm like, shit, that's going to be pretty damn strong. So, that's what I think about. And even to add more strength, I'm going to make my house section will be built out of 2x6s, which are even thicker and bigger and stronger. Um, Mostly I'm doing that because it's going to add insulation value, which is a strength of the home. If a home is more well insulated, it's more efficient. It's going to cost you less to heat it. And that's my upside. I'm not a big environmentalist guy. I live in a place where there's plenty of environment. So it's not my first thought. My first thought is efficiency. If I gotta pay for propane, I want it to be as little as possible. And I have a wood stove and all that. And anyway, I'm getting off track. So strength. When I'm building something, when I'm gonna build a deck, and that's most of what I build is decks. Like I built this cabin that I'm sitting in here, and I will have a hand in building my home. I won't build the whole thing myself. I'll certainly have some pros in there. But when you're building a thing, strength is your primary concern. Is it going to be strong? And I would tell you that in order to maintain that strength, you've got to make sure that it's waterproof essentially. Because as strong as that 2x4 is on end, if it gets wet, I mean, if it continues to be wet, It's going away. That strength is going to disappear. That wood is going to deteriorate, and it will be gone. But if you can keep it dry, I mean, you can have a 200-year-old house, same 2x4s in it, same amount of strength. Pretty damn cool. So that's part of strength. I think about like when I build when I have a vehicle and I want it to remain strong. Like my truck is 23 years old, and I just today did the 225,000 mile oil change on it, and I rotated the tires, and um, I was laying under there because my garage isn't done yet, so I was out in the driveway in front of my barn working on it, and I was reminded how strong it was when I laid down to go and change that oil filter, and I hit my head on one of the suspension pieces. That's big and beefy and strong as fuck, and that's why the truck is lasted so long. It's strong. Every time something breaks on it, every time something needs maintenance, I buy the strongest, best shit I can buy. When I put oil in it, it's full synthetic, Mobil One or Royal Purple or something like that. When it needs tires, I get something, I got like Goodyear Duratrax. They're super strong. They're gonna last forever. You'll never get a flat. Um, I try to make it as strong as I can. It's got this bumper on the front that I welded up. It's a quarter-inch thick plate steel, so I can smoke a deer and no problems. It's not even gonna probably won't even scuff the bed liner that I painted the bumper with. So that's like some outside of you know, definitions of strength. But really, what we're getting at here is making you stronger. Okay, like that house, you got to make sure that your 2x4s are on edge. You got to make sure that you're not letting in any contaminants that are going to make your strength go away. There's a ton of metaphors I can throw at you there. With the truck, when you have problems, you need to make sure that you build yourself back as well as you possibly can. You have to treat mental and physical issues just like a scar in your body. That place where you got cut and that scar formed, that spot right there is stronger than any other place around it. And it's because it got broken. So what's the theme here? Well, it's that obviously the accidental incidents, you've got to treat those well, and again, bring in nothing but strength and try to repel negativity. But you should be consciously seeking discomfort. You should be consciously doing things to break yourself down. I mean, within reason, uh, regularly. And I'm going to tell you that's every single day. And we can get back on that in a minute. Speaking of deer with the bumper thing, I'm going to hunt this year. It's going to be my first time ever. I've never hunted before. I mean, I know that's kind of not, doesn't seem like it fits with the kind of what I'm slinging here. I live in this tiny cabin out in the woods. I have a lot of guns. I have a big four-wheel drive truck. I've all those things, right? It seems like I'd be a hunter, but my dad didn't hunt, and neither did his dad. They both grew up in the city, but I didn't. I grew up in the country. We had a little hobby farm out in a little town called Ortonville, and it was a cool place to grow up. And but I still never got into it. But um, I'm just realizing a couple of things. I'm realizing that in order to be strong, it isn't just me where I have to understand that sometimes you get injured, sometimes you get hurt, sometimes you go down, and you've got to strengthen yourself from there. I also have to get comfortable with sometimes being cruel. And that's what like I talk about all the time. Being a man and being a leader, it's the same thing. So if you are in a position where you've got anybody else around you, sometimes you're going to have to break them down, knowing that your injuries to them will make them stronger. You have to understand that concept. And because I don't currently have a football team or a business, I have some people who work for me, but it's not very regular. I need to be practiced at a little bit more cruelty, a little bit more anger, a little bit more breaking down things around me for the purpose of improvement. And I think that getting comfortable with killing an animal that I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat the shit out of it. And that's the only reason, uh, you know, the only physical reason I want to eat more natural meat, stuff that doesn't come from the grocery store. Since I've moved, it's been tougher to find. I got a ton of excuses, but it's been tougher to find that, natural grass-finished beef that I always eat. I'm running out of it in my freezer, and I need more of that. But even bigger than that, I've got to face a discomfort that I have, and the discomfort is with killing. I want to go out and do that, face it, realize that it's a necessary thing, I have for too long eaten animals that other people have killed, and that isn't fair of me to make other people do my killing. So I want to prove to myself that I can do it, and I'm sure I can. It's not going to be a big deal. You shoot the thing, you eat it, you drink some beer. So yeah, and again, forcing discomfort on myself. Kind of making a pivot here. I was talking to my friend Sarah Moore. I talk about her a lot. She's the used to be the Spunky Millennial. Now she's just Sarah Moore. She's getting tremendous traction all over the internet. She's doing a great job. She's got a coaching business set up. She's really blown up, and I'm very proud to call her my friend. Uh, she got sent a poem called If by Rudyard Kipling. And anybody who knows anything about this show, they know that that is the most impactful piece of literature I have ever encountered in my life. Jordan Peterson was huge, but he's second to If by Rudyard Kipling. Okay, if you read that poem, you get a chance, just Google it right now. It's not that long. It's one page. What it is essentially is a message from a father to his son. And if this is not framed in your son's bedroom, it fucking should be. So get out there and find that shit and get that squared up on the wall for your son. Well, there's a line in there. We were talking about this, Sarah and I. It says right in there, um, talks about your will. And so, hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says, hold on. And the will, Rudyard Kipling chose to capitalize the W in will. Now, random words that have capitalizations, obviously, would be something important. So he didn't capitalize it on accident. And this is an interpretation of mine that I happen to share with several of my English professors from Northern Michigan University. But the capital W in will is a specific uh, comparison. It's a synonym of sorts to God. God with a capital G. The idea being your God has control over you in some ways, has a plan for you in some ways. God is to be leaned on when times are tough. Um, and I believe that's why he capitalized the W in will, because that's exactly what your will is for you, your consciousness, your determination, your grit, your the lack of back down within you, your will. You can will yourself to do things that are quote unquote impossible. And so in that way, your will is just like a God, where it is your control. However strong your will is, that's where your life is going to go. When you are down and at your worst, and you have nothing in you except for the will, which says hold on, well then that's there. It's I think of the Footprints poem, right? When I was at my worst times, talking about God, when I was at my worst, there's only one set of footprints, and God says that's when I was carrying you. And that's exactly what your will do for you. Okay? So check that poem out. That's just one piece of it. What does that have to do with strength? Well, that's mental strength. Okay? And this is a thing people talk about all the time, but how the fuck do you develop it? All right? Now, there's a ton of stuff that I believe is just born into you. I'm 6 feet tall. I didn't do any workouts to get to 6 feet tall. I have blue eyes. I didn't do anything to make that happen. It was just genetics. I got lucky. Um, your mental toughness, you have a certain amount of it, okay? Like your physical abilities, you have a certain genetic ability, but you certainly can improve upon them. You can make it better. You can make it to its very optimum capacity, which is, I think, not just a thing that's fun to talk about. It's your responsibility as a man. You have to do that. Okay. You got to take your will, and make it the best you can. I had a conversation also with my friend Joe DeGain that I quoted in my second book. We were talking about his career as a wrestler. He was a wrestler at the University of Michigan. He was actually the captain of the wrestling team, which is pretty impressive. And he told me that in high school, all he learned was to be really tough. Everything they did was to toughen those guys up. And then when he got to college, when he got to Michigan, that's when he learned real wrestling technique. Well, we had a conversation about it, and that was nice. And this is while he and I were together at a football game at Michigan. And it was several weeks later. It was just a couple of days ago, actually. I sent him a text. I'm like, man, I was thinking about that. And I wonder if that program only recruits really tough kids so that they don't have to spend time toughening you. They can just teach you technique. Because being tough, again, like I said, a high percentage of that, you're just born a badass motherfucker. A lot of people are, and the world makes you better at it, right? Um, but you can improve it, you know. So maybe that's just how they do their recruiting. And I thought, you know, maybe that's what happened to him because he's a bad dude. Like he's CrossFit champion. He did all these amazing things, and he's got what he has is tremendous mental toughness. He's not really, you don't look at him. He's not 6'3" and 240 and just ripped. You know, he's not going to block out the sun. Like if he's just wearing regular clothes, he wouldn't intimidate you at all. But he has created himself into a very tough guy, a very strong guy, and in every way, physical and mental. Um, and how do you do that? I keep beating around this bush. I keep giving examples of talking about it, but how do you do it? How do you build your will? How do you make yourself mentally strong? Well, the most effective way is to lift fucking weights. Yeah, that pause was on purpose. I want you to really think that through. If you're a man and you're not lifting weights, you are not the man you could be. Okay, Jack Donovan says this, that there's a difference between being a good man and being good at being a man. Okay, being good at being a man is a totally different thing. Like I had this conversation with the wife of my buddy the other day, and she's got two sons she's raising, and he's raising them too, of course. And she said she really wants to make sure that they become good people, the two sons. I'm like, well, that's great, and why wouldn't you? I would like to open your mind to this idea that being a good man is a thing above and beyond being a good person. Being a good person, lots of people can do that, but being a good man has its own specific thing that's above and beyond that, more and harder and more difficult than just being a good person, right? See what I'm saying? And if you're not lifting weights, you can't possibly be as physically strong of a man as you possibly can. Why? Why do I say lift weights? Why is that the most effective way? Because it is. It is the most effective way to build mental strength, is to build physical strength. Why is that the most effective way? Because in order to get strong physically, you've got to repetitively lift weights, you know what I mean? You keep going in, keep going in, keep going and going over weeks and months and years, and you will get physically stronger. And actually, at the beginning, when your muscles are working on recruitment, that's the first thing that improves within your muscles. Read up on muscle recruitment. You'll get stronger a lot more quickly. And then eventually you plateau off and you just got to find new ways to break through plateaus. But why is that consistent effort? Why is that going in all the time going to make you more mentally strong? Because there's going to be a million fucking things that are going to try to stop you from doing it, most notably your own lack of self-discipline, if that's an issue for you. You know, I always say work out first thing in the morning. It's the first chapter of both of my books. I talk about physical fitness. Actually, first chapter of my second book is about physical fitness because nothing, you know, it should be the first part of your day. It should be the first part of your life. If you're in a low spot, go after that. That's going to improve you in so many ways, most of all mentally, because there are going to be times where you are under a bunch of weight and you're at 8 and you're trying to get to 10, and you could, the inner bitch, the inner little whiny bitch that you have could say that's enough, you got to 8. Eight's more than you did last time. But if you listen to that, you are not developing the mental strength you can. If you tell that whiny bitch within you to fuck directly and immediately off, you'll get to 10. You will. Your body can do way more than you think it can do. And I would submit for, you know, as exhibit A, B, C through Z, every single time somebody's loved one was in a car that rolled over and some dude lifted the car off his kid, you know? Every time that your wife was being harassed by a motherfucker at the bar and you laid him the fuck out and you hit that guy harder than you've ever hit anyone in your life, okay? And that's because you can do more than you think you can. And when you are properly motivated, and motivation is a very short-term thing. We talk about that all the time, but it's useful when it's there, right? Ride it when you have it. I talk about that like when I'm working on my vehicles or cleaning the house or whatever. Like that motivation comes around, I got to take it now. I can't wait. Like if I'm fired up to clean, I'm cleaning. Right? Let's get shit clean before I lose my short-term motivation. Um, yeah, so that's where you strengthen your mental. That's how you get mentally strong, is those moments. And I'll tell you that they don't happen in every set. They don't even happen in every workout for me. Um, I'm always trying to find new plateaus, trying to find new levels to get to, trying to find different things to try. Um, but in a lot of ways, I'm already pretty mentally strong. Now, it is, however, a perishable skill. So you've got to continue to keep going in there. So, yeah, you've got things that are going to come up in your life that are going to make you want to skip the gym. Maybe you went out and had some beers last night and you're like, fuck it, I'm not getting up tomorrow. Your whole day is going to be out of whack. It's going to be fucked up. I recommend you go in. I'd rather be tired all day than out of my routine and not feeling good. You know what I mean? I would rather be physically tired than mentally not sharp. And my workout first thing in the morning, I don't drink coffee. I never have. I dodge the hell out of caffeine. It fucks with me a little bit. So that's how I make my energy happen during the day. I get some great thinking done, all that stuff. But that's why lifting weights builds mental strength, because when you get to those last few reps, that's when you have the choice. You have the choice of saying, all right, that's good enough. Or, no, fuck it, man, I'm doing more. I can do more. That's how you improve. That's how you build mental strength right there. Now that's the weightlifting part, and it's not easy, but it's a little different than cardiovascular um, physical exhaustion, because that's a little bit longer term. So the lifting weights things, fucking do it. I would also recommend this other piece, and that's find some difficult cardio. I'm a runner. So I run as much as I can. I take time off to let my knees heal up, and because I'm a big dude, I'm 225 at 6 feet tall, not exactly built like a runner. I'm a little bit bigger than that, so I try to take it easy. I don't want to beat up my hips, my knees, stuff like that. So I'll put in, instead of doing a hard run, I'll get on the damn spin bike, and man, you can beat your ass on that too. I mean, something I like to do is set that fucker and see how, I'm warmed up and I'm going through my workout and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do a 1 mile sprint. I'm gonna sprint as hard as I can on this motherfucker until I get to a mile and see how quickly I can get there. And I know exactly, how long that takes me, and I know exactly what my best is, and I know how close I can get to it. Same thing with rowing. I'm always trying to row 3 miles which is 4,800 meters within 20 minutes, which is pretty damn difficult. Um, and when you get into those real challenging um, cardiovascular workouts, I've found that this isn't true with the lifting weights as much. Not even actually, not at all for me with lifting weights. Is this concept called the dark place? Okay, what's the dark place? Okay, for me, I'll tell you exactly what it is. When I'm in a difficult workout and I'm close to the end, or I'm like getting ready to push through a thing that, one of those 1 mile sprints or something of that nature, the dark place is the inner whiny bitch. It's that voice in my head that's gonna say shit to me like, you're 46 years old. The fuck are you doing? There's no race coming up. You're not competing with anybody. You might get hurt. There's all this whiny shit that starts going into my head. Excuses, reasons why, I can't get through this stuff. And that's when I build my mental strength. I love going to that dark place. That's another thing that Joe DeGane will talk about that same thing. Not every one of my workouts am I doing that. Fuck, I'd be broken. But every now and then, I want to dig in and visit that whiny bitch inside me and tell it to suck my dick. You know what I mean? I want to just prove to myself that I won't be controlled by weakness. I won't let fear or anxiety or worry stop me from doing anything. I talk about that all the time. But the way to make sure that I'm still sharp is through my workouts. Okay? And then when you do that stuff, when you get through that difficult workout and you did beat the bitch inside you, um, man, the rest of the day, it doesn't seem nearly as bad. It doesn't matter. You got a tough phone call you got to make. You got to do a traffic, you know, road rage, or somebody's cut you off. You're like, fuck him, whatever. Big deal. Something didn't go right. Building this house, there's fucking problem after problem. But I'm hitting those hard workouts. You know what I mean? So they don't seem as bad. I'm telling you. They don't. And that is where mental strength pays off, because the rest of your day won't be so hard. When things come up, you're more capable of being that leader that we always talk about. You're a better man. Uh, one of the chapters in the new book is called Calm. You're more able to be stoic, calm, and have perspective when bad shit happens because you are practicing bad shit in your head all the time when you're training your body physically. You see what I'm saying? I keep beating this same drum over and over again. The best way to build mental strength, which let me tell you, runs your whole fucking world, is to develop physical strength. So here's this concept. I'm going to tell you that, you'll see it in movies with big muscly guy. He gets beat up by some dude real easily and he's a whiny bitch. That's not reality. Okay, if you see a dude who's obviously jacked, obviously ripped, and been working his ass off, he's pretty mentally strong, I'm telling you. No, that doesn't matter what his motivation is. If he's just a real vain motherfucker, total douchebag, he's still mentally stronger than you are if you don't look like that. I'm telling you. There just aren't as good luck finding some other way to develop your mental strength like that. Unless you've been a prisoner of war or something. Um, yeah, that guy that you see is consciously putting himself in discomfort all the time. He is consciously creating scarcity with food. If he's ripped, you see what I'm saying? He is practicing mental strength constantly. Okay. So that shit where you see that big guy get beat up real easily and he's a big coward, it just isn't real. Okay. Guys who look like that, they're pretty tough. Okay, tough mentally at least. Maybe they don't know how to fight, but they're gonna be tough. It's just the truth is the truth. And so another example, how do I, that I know this will kind of help color the concepts I'm giving you. The Navy SEALs, widely known as the most difficult training program of any military in the world. They have a very difficult, they call it BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition School, which is the Navy SEALs training program. You make it through that, you're Navy SEAL. It's pretty impressive. You basically got a built-in book deal if you do that. I'm too old. At 46, I physically would break trying to do that shit. I just can't recover just because of being 46. But anyway, their thing is this, to get more, because, only like two out of 10 or something, I think it's like 15 or 20% of people who get into a BUDS class actually make it to the end because they get injured or they quit or there's all kinds of different things. And, do some reading on Navy SEAL training or on Special Forces training or Army Rangers or Marine Scout Snipers or whatever, any one of these elite groups. And they will tell you that the whole point of the breaking you down physically is to break you down mentally and see what's in there. How tough are you? How strong are you? Why do they do that? To see if you are going to be able to make it when the bullets start flying, okay? Because that's as stressful. There's nothing more stressful than your life being in danger. Nothing more stressful than that. So they're trying to recreate that, break you in the same way, and see how you'll stand up to it because they don't want you cracking when there's other people's lives on the line. I mean, it couldn't be more obvious than that. And so in order to get more people to pass the BUDS, what the Navy started doing is, and a lot of privateers are doing, was creating these Navy SEALs prep schools, where you go in there and you can strengthen the same muscles you're going to strengthen, you can do the same shit you're going to do, uh, and get your body physically prepared for the Navy SEALs for BUDS. Well, sadly, what happened as a result of that, it was you got a bunch of stronger, faster pussies. And because the element that was missing from the physical training, and I know this sounds contrary to what I said earlier, the element that was missing from the physical workouts was the mental stuff, the deprivation, the lack of sleep, the cold, all the things that fuck with your head, all the things that stop you from going to the gym, the hangover, it's cold out there, it's oh, my toe hurts, or all these other peripheral factors that have nothing to do with the workout. All the things that you can turn into excuses are missing from those Navy SEAL prep schools. That's why. So they made your body stronger, and yeah, you definitely made your mind stronger to that end. But the level of mental stress you're going to experience in BUDS is off the charts. It's over the edge. Like you can't, you know, it doesn't get any tougher than that. The idea being, if you can make it through this, then any kind of real combat's going to be easy for you. That's how we do it as coaches. I always wanted my athletes to be able to go to the game, and the game was easier than practice. Track meets were easier than track practices. Basketball practices were harder than basketball games. I mean, that's what you wanted. You wanted to be able to leave your competitions feeling like, hey, that was no big deal, and that's of course what the Navy wants out of their SEALs. You want these guys to be able to go into combat and do what they need to do and be fine. Um, and yeah, so stronger, faster pussies, it didn't help. So you've got to get that mental component in there. And I know, how can you do that to yourself? All right, so you got your workouts going. You're working on the inner bitch. You're going to the dark place every now and then. That's great. Well, let's make it even more challenging. Let's get into some physical discomfort. That's why people talk about cold showers so much. I was talking to my buddy Eric. He was saying the same thing. Man, I got to work this in. It's supposed to be such a great depression cure, anxiety cure. It's so good for you. The cold water, cold showers. Um, people get into those cold plunges, dunk tanks, whatever. Uh, that's that's introducing more discomfort to your body, which is going to further strengthen your mind. That's just one example, cold showers, or cold water. You can do it also with heat, man. I use a sauna almost every day now that it's cooler outside. Um, yeah, it's 180 degrees in there, and I stay in there as long as I can take it. I go and stay in there until I can feel my heartbeat in my head, and I'm getting a little bit lightheaded. But I know that how all the positives of that. I'm hydrating while I'm in there and all that stuff. I'm not doing anything unhealthy, but I'm practicing discomfort, you know, and that's to make myself mentally strong. So, what is strength? It's lots of things. It's everything from a 2x4 on edge to the steel bumper on my truck to the words in the poem "If" by Rudyard Kipling to your body when you are working it like you should be, and all of that is in pursuit of being as strong as you can be mentally. Okay? Being mentally strong is the goal because it's going to make you better at everything else you do. Find ways to strengthen your mind so that when the physical challenges come up, they're no problem. When the mental stresses show up, you can handle it. Not only can you handle it, you can lead. You can calmly and with competence lead your people. Okay? That's why you do it. Make yourself mentally strong and physically strong so you can do all those things. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. Today we talked about strength. I hope some of this in some way helps you to get your shit together. Have a great week.